What do you know about MMA? No, really. What the hell do you know about two men stripped to the waist and locked in a cage together with little more than a cup, mouth guard, and a single goal of inflicting their will until the other gives up, is deemed unable to intelligently defend himself, or is separated from consciousness? What do you know about MMA? What makes you believe you know anything? How do you even know what you think you know? Quite honestly, this is the only question I give a good goddamn about.
Begin with the proof.
Hello, I'm Cavassier the goddamn Newt. How do we know what we know? I'm talking about epistemology here, people. What is the point of digging ever deeper into combat sports, the athletes who compete, and their attendant psychology, unless we can reasonably expect to distinguish justified understanding from mere opinion? I believe we can make the distinction. I've decided to make a series of straightforward episodes analyzing a single moment of action and linking it to a psychological or scientific concept, principle, or methodology. For example, today's episode uses this 8-second clip from UFC 216, Ferguson vs. Lee. And we'll pull some ideas from the field of cognition and perception, including the psychological concept of inattentional blindness, to help us make the analysis. For everyone who's requested a book list from me to help with an interest in psychology or just reading situations and people better, I think you'll get a lot out of this series. Let's go to the clip. What did you see? Think about subject, object, and action. Watch again. What sticks out in your mind? Think about what you saw, what caught your attention. Now lock it in your mind. Alright, this time with sound.
Even if you go up 2-0, big double leg level change by Lee.
Don't grab the fence.
He just grabbed the fence.
Hey.
Now what do you see? Something different than you saw the first time? How many focused on the takedown or slam with the sound off? I noticed the elbow from Tony. That left the biggest impression on me. Who noticed the fence grab on the first clip? Who didn't really pay attention to the fence grab until watching the clip with sound? Watch it one more time.
Even if you go up 2-0, big double leg level change by Lee.
Don't grab the fence.
He just grabbed the fence.
Okay, anyone still not see the fence grab? Let me know in the comments below. It's kinda hard to miss the fence grab once you hear Herb Dean barking, "Don't grab the fence." Then DC follows up with an excited, "He just grabbed the fence," like a little snitch. Just kidding, DC. Now let's analyze the clip and see if it changes our perception of things. The clip starts with Kevin Lee going for a reactive double leg takedown off Ferguson's inside leg kick. It's a quick level change from Lee and drives Ferguson towards the fence. For his part, Tony gets a mini underhook here and works his hips forward in an attempt to break the grip, but Lee is able to press Tony against the fence, make a quick adjustment for better leverage, and lift Ferguson in position for the slam takedown. Up to this point, everything is straightforward. Watch the fence grab segment. It's easier to see what's happening looped at normal speed. Now we can see what Ferguson is actually doing. As Lee starts to pick him up, Tony's body is angled away from the flat plane of Lee's chest and hips. If Kevin slams Tony while his body is angled this way, the force of the slam will impact a small area of Tony's body, namely the point of his left hip and the ball of his left shoulder, with the possibility of Ferguson's left wrist or elbow extending to absorb some of the force, which increases the risk of injury. Instead, Ferguson goes up, he reaches out and pushes against the fence to help bring his body square with Lee's. You can see Tony use his lower body momentum to start twisting into parallel with Lee before he reaches out his hand. Look close, Ferguson's palm is flat, fingers extend out, and his body turns the final few degrees into parallel as he pushes off the fence. Then why did so many of us see a fence grab? Well, it was a verbal prompt that created the perception of a fence grab. Herb Dean shouts at Tony for grabbing the fence. DC repeats it for the broadcast.
Don't grab the fence.
He just grabbed the fence.
Now the audience is primed to have their perception conform with an authority figure in Herb Dean and an expert in Daniel Cormier. What? Do you think you know more about MMA than a well-respected referee or the champ at 205? Confirmation bias is the tendency to interpret new evidence as confirmation for a previously held belief. You can also think of it as a side effect to a larger set of pattern recognition algorithms our brain uses to filter out irrelevant information.
Well, I mean, it's a kick that I learned in Japan probably over 40 years ago that I've changed and modified and worked on for the last 35 years or so.
I'm sure you've heard the saying, to a hammer, everything looks like a nail. That's pattern recognition run amok. As a referee, Herb Dean's job is to ensure the safety of the athletes and uphold the integrity of the bout by enforcing the rules. Dean is trained to recognize transgression patterns inside the cage. He's looking for potential rule infractions. He's not watching for entertainment value. As Lee begins to lift Ferguson, a good referee recognizes the pattern and expects Kevin to slam Ferguson for the takedown. Combine that pattern recognition with the understanding of strategies and techniques, and Herb knows Kevin Lee is about to gain a large positional advantage, and that Ferguson will do what he can to avoid giving it up. So when Tony extends his arm, the well-trained eye and mind of Herb Dean already knows what Ferguson is doing. In the chaos of the moment, guys reach out and grasp the fence and attempt to thwart takedowns all the time. Roughly 20 seconds later, Herb Dean makes the same mistake.
Down for a while, so he can try to regain a little bit of that image that he used.
Ferguson pushes off the corner padding and cage to reposition himself, and Dean about has a conniption. Inattentional blindness is a psychological lack of attention which causes an individual to fail observing an unexpected event that's in plain sight. In other words, you don't see something if you weren't looking for it, even though it was in plain sight.
You are the bouncers, I am the cooler. All you have to do is watch my back and each other's. Take out the trash.
Herb Dean isn't expecting Tony to legally push off the fence, so he doesn't see the legal push-off. He sees an illegal fence grab because he expects Ferguson to be uncomfortable and flailing, but that's not what happened. The psychological concepts of confirmation bias and inattentional blindness help us analyze what's actually happened and why. Once we understand these things, we can often dig just a little deeper and uncover specific insights about the fighters involved. In this case, there's a lot to be learned about Tony Ferguson, but that's another episode. What did you see during the first clip? Did the comments from Herb Dean and DC affect your perception? Let me know in the comments section below. Remember, this isn't supposed to be easy.